Hello and Namaste. I am Ketan Kang from 192 Consulting. After having looked into the reasons of rejection for ISR 3 and SH13, in today's video we will look into the concept and reasons of rejection of SH14. Now, what is SH14? If in case a person who has already appointed a nominee wants to change the nominee on the same securities, then that person has to intimate the company and its RTA through form SH14. So SH14 is entitled as change or variation in the details of nominee. Now, if suppose a person A is appointed as the nominee previously and the original shareholder wants to change that nominee from person A to person B, then this has to be done precisely only by filing form SH14. Now, what are the details of SH14? First of all, it contains the name of the issuer company. These details are similar to SH13, only in addition to the details that go into SH13, there are few more details which are to be mentioned in SH14. So first, as we can see, SH13 contained the names of name and address of the issuer company. Likewise, SH14 also will contain the name and address of the issuer company because the shares are issued by the company. I repeat myself, the shares are issued by the issuer company and not the RTA. So the shareholders have to take into consideration that the name of the RTA should not be mentioned. However, the name of the company should be mentioned along with the address of its registered office. Then, likewise, SH14 is more or less a declaration that the shareholder had previously appointed a particular person as a nominee. Now that shareholder is looking forward to change the details of that nominee. So if we apply a common sense to it, the details of the initial nominee have to be mentioned. Now these details will be matched with the details of earlier SH13 that was filed for the appointment of the nominee. The primary reason for rejection of this form is that if the details mentioned in the earlier form do not match with of the earlier nominee do not match with the details mentioned in this form, then the company and the RTA will straight away reject the form, telling that the details don't match. They have very critical lens to look at all these details and perspectives, because it is presumed by the companies and the RTAs that the nominee mentioned by the original shareholders, the details of that nominee are known to the person or the original shareholders who has appointed that person as a nominee. So in case the details mentioned in SH14 of the earlier nominee do not match with the details mentioned in SH13 while appointing that nominee, then the form will get rejected. Secondly, the form contains, or the shareholder has to mention the details of the new nominee or any variation to the earlier nominee. This has to be supported by appropriate documentary enclosures. Now, if the person is changing the nominee altogether, then the PAN and Aadhaar or the KYC documents, as we name it, have to be filed along with SH14 of the new nominee. So the details of earlier nominee has gone and the details of the new nominee has gone. Now, if the details of this new nominee, if the details mentioned in the form and the details mentioned on the new nominee's KYC papers such as PAN and Aadhaar do not match, or if they mismatch, then again the company will reject the form, and this will become one more reason for the rejection of the SH14. Thirdly, even if the new nominee is a minor, that person can be appointed as a minor, but SH14 states that, or asks in a way to the investors, if the minor is deceased before he attains the age of majority. In that case, what is to be done? So the original shareholder has to mention very specifically in that case what are the instructions for the company that should be followed. Now again, the SH14 has to be signed by the shareholders, by the original investors. So the signing protocol remains the same as it was with SH13. If the shares are held in the single name, that single person has to sign SH13. If the shares are held by the multiple holders in joint names, then in the sequence of their signatures, the SH14 has to be filed and or SH14 has to be signed. It is also to be taken care that the shares or the signatures should be in the same sequence. So if the person A is the first holder, he should sign first, person B is the second holder, he should sign second, and so on and so forth. If the shares are jointly held, but if SH14 is singly signed or signed by the single shareholder, company will reject the form. The form will fall back to the shareholder. The company will tell the shareholder that all the shareholders have to sign this form jointly in order for the company to execute it. So these are the reasons of rejection. I'll summarize the entire points. First of all, the details of the earlier nominee should match with the details provided in earlier form SH13. Secondly, the details of the new nominee are to be matched with the documentary evidence or supporting documents such as PAN and Aadhaar filed with SH14, and form SH14 has to be signed by all the shareholders in the same sequence of their holding. If you have any query regarding SH14, you may feel free to reach out to us. You can reach out to us by marking your comments in the comment section of this video, or you can also write an email to us on info@192.in. Till the time, thank you so much.